very good morning to each and everyone watching Mama Gasabo Television. Thank you for being with us in today's news edition. You're going to be with me, Kamika Gislaine. Now let's kick off with the news headlines. President Paul Kagame urged youth to focus on self-building for national growth. We are ready to take over BDF services in strategic measure. On the international news, Bangladesh first female Prime Minister Khaledia Zia dies aged 80 years old. Now let's take a short break to be back on the news details. Welcome back. Let's start our news in Rwanda. In his year-end address at the Kigali Convention Center on Monday evening, President Paul Kagame reminded Rwandan youth that they cannot build a strong nation without first focusing on building themselves. Accompanied by First Lady Janet Kagame and other family members, the president emphasized that the youth, who make up 75% of Rwanda's population, represent a powerful resource for the country's future. He urged them to prioritize self-development as the key to contributing to the nation's growth. Wishing Rwandans a prosperous 2026, he highlighted that 27% of the population is between the ages of 16 and 30, with 12% already entering the workforce. President Paul Kagame assured that the government is committed to providing opportunities for youth growth and empowerment. Moving ahead, Rwanda has launched a $3.2 billion energy expansion plan aimed boosting national electricity generation from about 467 megawatts today to 1.066 megawatts by 2034, the Rwandan Energy Group announced. Lake CEO engineer Armand Singiro highlighted significant strides in energy access, with household electrification rising from 64.5% 5 years ago to 85.4% today. This strategy focuses on hydropower, solar, and emerging technologies. Major hydropower projects, including Nyabarongo 2 and Rukarara 6, are at various stages of construction, while the regional Rusizi third plant has begun work amid political hurdles. Solar initiatives such as Mahanga 30 megawatt plant are planned with competitive financing models underway. To fund the 10-year roadmap, Rwanda will tap concessional loans, climate finance, green bonds, and carbon credits, while also upgrading distribution infrastructure to support expanded supply. Turning to the next story, Rwanda Development Bank will take over all services previously provided by the Business Development Fund under a government plan to strengthen development finance nationwide. The transition, effective December 31st, 2025, follows a decision to integrate the two institutions into a single entity to boost efficiency, streamline operations, and expand access to finance for businesses. Under the new arrangement, BRD will administer all BDF products and support services, including credit guarantees and subsidized financing previously offered to micro, small, and medium enterprises. Clients will access their services through BRD's digital platform, with loan applications and inquiries handled directly by the bank. BRD CEO Kamita Sainzoga said the consolidation will improve service delivery and support Rwanda's economic growth by providing faster, clearer, and more coordinated financial support. The government expects the merger to enhance private sector financing and align development finance more closely with national priorities under Rwanda's Vision 2050. Now let's take a short break to be back on the international news.
Bakiriya bacu beza, Smart Home yahoze ari Danube Home tubifurije Noheli nziza n'umwaka mushya muhire wa 2026. Muri izi mpera z'umwaka tubafitiye promosiyo ya 25% discount plus free selected gift. Urugero, uragura intebe kuri discount ya 25% tukakongeza ameza cyangwa kabati ka televiziyo cyangwa imisego yo mu ntebe. Uragura igitanda kuri discount ya 25% tukakongeza bed cover cyangwa imisego yo ku buriri cyangwa amashuka. Uragura kandi table à manger kuri discount ya 25% tukakongeza ibisorori cyangwa ibyombo. si ibyo gusa kandi kuko icyo wagura cyose muri izi mpera z'umwaka muri smart home urahabwa igabanyirizwa rya 25 ndetse ugatombora impano ishimishije. ni uguhera tariki ya 8 kugeza 31 Ukuboza 2025. Icyitonderwa, amategeko n'amabwiriza birakurikizwa. Dukorera KBC Kimihurura, waduhamagara cyangwa ukatwandikira kuri nimero ya telefone ikurikira 0788 90 50 90.
Welcome back. On the international news, Khaledia Zia, Bangladesh's first female prime minister and an archival of outside leader Sheikh Hasina, has died from prolonged illness.
On the international news, Lesotho in Africa, where Ivory Coast ruling party has tightened its grip on parliament after winning a landslide victory in legislative elections, according to final results released on the Independent Electoral Commission. The rally of Hypothesis for Democracy and Peace secured 197 of the 255 seats, giving it nearly 77% of the National Assembly. The vote came just 2 months after President Alassane Ouattara was re-elected to a controversial fourth term. Voter turnout was low to about 35%, reflecting continued political apathy. The RHDP swept most constituencies in its northern strongholds and made notable gains in southern and western regions traditionally held by the opposition. Election officials said polling was largely peaceful despite a few isolated incidents. Opposition parties fared poorly, with the Democratic Party of Ivory Coast losing about half its seats, while the party of former President Laurent Gbagbo, which boycotted the vote, failed to win any representation. Critics warn the result further weakens democratic checks and balance. Proceeding on the international news, Khaledia Zia, Bangladesh's first female prime minister and a towering figure in the country's politics for more than 3 decades, has died aged 8 years old after a prolonged illness. She passed away early Tuesday in a Dhaka hospital where doctors had said her condition was extremely critical and she was on life support. Zia led Bangladesh's first democratic government in 20 years after winning elections in 1991, restoring parliamentary democracy and earning praise for efforts to expand women's education and social development. Widowed after the assassination of President Zia Rahman in 1981, she entered politics and rose to lead the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, breaking through a male-dominated landscape. Her long rivalry with Sheikh Hasina defined Bangladesh politics, with the two alternating in power. Zia later faced corruption convictions, were politically motivated, and spent years in and out of detention. Despite ill health, she remained a symbol of opposition politics until her death. Concluding our international news, China carried out its largest and closest ever military drills along Taiwan, ferry rockets into waters north and south of the island in war games simulating a blockade. The 2-day exercise, named Justice Mission 2025, involved about 10 hours of live-fire drills, deployment of bomber aircraft, destroyers, coast guards, vessels, and new type 075 ambitious assault ships. China's Eastern Theater Command said the drills rehearsed sea-based assaults, air defense, anti-submarine operation, and coordinated strikes on maritime, aerial, and land targets. Taiwan said China appeared to be simulating attacks on US-made weapon systems such as HIMARS and was monitoring whether missiles would be fired over the island. The drills began shortly after the United States approved a record of $11.1 billion arms package for Taiwan. President Lai Ching-te said Taiwan's forces were on alert but would not escalate tensions. Analysts say the exercise showed increasing realism and boldness, highlighting the severe economic and security risks a blockade would pose. Kamikaze Ghislaine, Mamorga Kasabo TV.
As we come to the end of the news edition, let's remind you of the top stories that we talked about. President Paul Kagame urged youth to focus on self-building for national growth. We are ready to take over BDF services in strategic measure. On the international news, Bangladesh's first female Prime Minister Khaledia Zia dies aged 8 years old. And this marks the end. Stay tuned.